Incredible act of kindness, 3 generations transformed by a touching encounter in a snowstorm. The wind howled like a wounded animal, snow whipping through the air in blinding spirals. In the heart of a small Midwestern town, Sarah, a humble single mother in her early 30s, gripped the steering wheel with white-knuckled determination. She glanced at her 2 kids in the back seat, Jake, 8, and Mia, 12. "We'll make it home, guys," she reassured them, though her heart raced with worry. Just a week ago, she'd been laid off from her job, stinging words replaying in her mind. Now, the storm mirrored the chaos in her life. As she picked them up from school, the blizzard intensified, turning familiar streets into swirling chaos. "Mom, are we lost?" Jake asked, his voice barely audible over the wind. A chill crept into Sarah's chest, panic tightening its grip. "No, sweetie. Just a little detour." She turned the car down a rural road, convinced it was a shortcut. But as the snow piled around the tires, the car sputtered and came to a halt. "Mom!" Mia's voice trembled, fear mixed with the despair. The window fogged, reflecting their worried faces. Just a stone's throw away, Mr. Thompson, an octogenarian war veteran, peered out from his farmhouse. He remembered the bitter winters of his youth, the struggles, and the warmth of community in dark times. A shiver ran through him, igniting that spark of empathy. Wrapping his scarf tighter, he stepped outside, the storm biting at his face, but a sense of purpose pushed him forward. As he trudged through the snow, he spotted Sarah's car. The sight of her family inside, faces etched with fear, struck a chord deep within. Memories of his own hardships surfaced, his family surviving the Great Depression. "Hey there!" he called through the dwindling visibility. Sarah's eyes widened, relief flooding her as Mr. Thompson approached. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice steady despite the storm. Sarah opened the door, letting the icy air rush in. I took a wrong turn," she admitted, the weight of her vulnerability spilling out. "I just want to keep my kids safe." She could see the understanding in his eyes. He too had faced battles, and they connected in that moment over shared struggles. As they walked toward his farmhouse, the blizzard roared around them, a visceral reminder that life could change in an instant. Inside, the warmth enveloped them like a comforting hug, starkly contrasting the chaos outside. Sitting by his fireplace, Sarah poured out her heart, fears and dreams mingling in the dim light. Mia listened intently, absorbing the stories. In Mr. Thompson, she saw more than just a neighbor but a potential mentor. "We need to help each other," she remarked softly, inspired by the man's strength. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as Sarah began to let hope creep in, Mr. Thompson paused, a shadow falling over his face. "There is something I need to tell you, something about our families outside." The storm raged on, echoing the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Would Sarah find the strength to navigate this new chapter? What was the connection that could change everything? The flickering glow of possibility danced between them, and the questions hung heavy in the air, waiting for answers yet to come. Mr. Thompson took a deep breath, his weathered hands clasping together as he struggled to find the words. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, the warmth of the fire contrasting sharply with the fear curling in her stomach. She watched him closely, sensing that whatever revelation he had would be important. Mia, still perched on the edge of her seat, leaned in, curiosity battling the apprehension in the room. "You may not remember this, but our families have crossed paths before," Mr. Thompson began, his voice steady but layered with emotion. "When I was just a boy, you see, I had a friend named Margaret, your mother." Sarah's eyes widened. Memories of stories from her childhood tumbled back, a gentle laugh, a warm hug, and her mother's kind eyes. Margaret? She would speak of her childhood friends sometimes, she stammered, her voice catching. But I didn't know what happened. Mr. Thompson leaned closer, his gaze filled with the weight of years gone by. She was one of the kindest souls I ever knew. Even when times were tough, she always found ways to help others. Tears prickled Sarah's eyes. The stories she had been told painted a picture of a mother who had faced her challenges with grace. She always taught me to be strong, but I've really struggled since losing her. A melancholic smile crept on Mr. Thompson's face. That spirit lives on in you, Sarah. You are here, working hard for your kids. Just like Margaret would have done. His voice grew firmer, a spark igniting in his aging eyes. And it's important for you to know, you're not alone in this fight. Your mother inspired many in our community, and I want to ensure her legacy continues. The room was silent for a moment as the wind continued to howl outside. Sarah felt an unexpected rush of warmth, a connection she hadn't anticipated. Legacy? She whispered, looking from Mr. Thompson to her children, who were now quietly listening, their earlier fears momentarily forgotten. Yes, he continued, his voice a blend of strength and compassion. Those who remember her want to help people who loved her still want to carry her kindness forward. We were fortunate to come together again in this storm. There's more than just me looking out for your family. Mia's interest peaked, and she spoke up, what do you mean? How can we continue her legacy? The room shifted, a spark of hope illuminated their souls as Mr. Thompson's eyes twinkled in understanding. You'll be surprised how small acts of kindness can ripple through a community. Each person you help can help others in turn. That's how we keep memories alive. Sarah felt a lump in her throat. Could she step into those shoes, become the person her mother had been? The prospect of matching her mother's strength both excited and terrified her as she felt the weight of decisions not just for herself, but for her kids. Perhaps, she hesitated, we could start a community project together. Something that honors her spirit. The moment hung heavy, the fire crackling softly in the background as they braced for what lay ahead. Outside, the winds began to soften, hinting at an end to the storm. But inside, a new chapter was poised to unfold, with possibilities blossoming from the roots of shared history. Just as hope began to bloom, there was a sudden knock at the door, loud and insistent. A chill ran through Sarah. Who could it be at such an hour and in such a storm? Her heart raced. Was this fate knocking again? What surprises could the night still hold? Sarah turned toward the door, the sound echoing in her ears like a distant drum. Just moments ago, a flicker of hope had ignited, and now uncertainty hung heavily in the air. Mr. Thompson's comforting words faded into the background, overshadowed by the anxiety swarming her mind. Mom, who is it? Mia looked up at Sarah, her voice barely above a whisper, capturing the reluctance they all felt. I don't know, Sarah stuttered, gripping the arm of the couch as if it could anchor her to her decision. She got up slowly, moving toward the door. The knock came again, sharper this time, slicing through the tense silence. What if it's someone who needs help? Mia ventured, her youthful eyes widening with concern. What if they're lost? That thought pulsed through Sarah's mind, a flicker of her mother's spirit reminding her to be brave and look out for others. With a shaky breath, she reached for the doorknob, glancing back at Mr. Thompson. His steady nod urged her forward. She opened the door, and the frigid air rushed in, causing her to shiver. Standing on the doorstep was a figure, bundled in layers with snowflakes clinging to the fabric. A woman, clearly exhausted, her cheeks flushed rosy from the cold. Please. The woman gasped, breathless and disheveled. I'm so sorry to intrude, but I got stuck in the storm. My car. I couldn't keep going. Could you help me? Sarah's heart raced. Here was an unexpected phone call from fate. But uncertainty clouded her mind. Would taking in a stranger be wise? What if it put her kids in danger? Just as doubt began to creep in, she caught sight of the woman's eyes, desperate yet hopeful. "Of course," Sarah said before her own apprehensions could turn her away. "Come in, quickly." As the woman stepped over the threshold, Sarah felt an electric connection, an echo of the kindness her mother used to show. "I'm Sarah, and this is my daughter Mia," she introduced, gesturing toward the fire glowing warmly in the living room. "We'll get you warmed up." "Thank you so much." "I'm Lisa," the woman said, looking from Sarah to Mia, her face softening. "I didn't know where else to go." Mr. Thompson rose, also extending a welcoming hand. "Just sit by the fire. We were just talking about community and kindness. You've walked right into our discussion." The compliment pulled a smile from Lisa, her tension easing slightly as she settled onto the couch. "I didn't mean to interrupt. You might have just become a part of something wonderful," Sarah said, reading the shared warmth in the room. "We were just brainstorming how to help others. Could you share your story?" As Lisa began to recount her tale of being stranded on the road, a series of mishaps and bad luck, Sarah and Mia listened intently. With every twist and turn of Lisa's journey, the connection grew deeper. As laughter broke through the tension, a feeling of unity enveloped them all. The fire crackled, casting shadows on the walls that danced with possibility. Sarah realized that this moment, unexpected as it was, felt like a gentle push into the path her mother had once traveled. A rush of inspiration surged through her, a bright idea that sparked hope inside her heart. "Maybe we could do something special together," Sarah proposed, excitement bubbling up. "You have a story, and we have a reason to honor my mom's kindness. What if we start a community support group?" As they exchanged ideas, a sudden gust of wind rattled the windows, perfect timing as they embarked on something bigger than themselves. But even as their spirits soared, a question lingered in the back of Sarah's mind: what would this new chapter look like? Would this woman they just met help fulfill her mother's legacy? As this thought took root, another knock echoed through the room, more urgent this time. "What now?" Mia squeaked, her bright eyes wide with a mix of fear and excitement. The night was still young, and the storm was far from over. Sarah's heart raced as her eyes darted to the door once more. Another knock, louder and more insistent, shattered the tranquility they'd just begun to weave. Anxiety twisted in her stomach. What could this mean? Who could it be now? Mr. Thompson murmured, a frown creasing his brow. "I'll get it," Sarah said, moving with purpose. Before she could second-guess herself, she opened the door wide, ready to face whatever the storm threw at her next. Standing before her was a man, rugged and soaked through despite the layers of clothing he wore. Snow flurried around him, swirling like wild spirits in the night. His eyes, meeting Sarah's, were filled with a mix of exhaustion and relief. "Please, I'm sorry to bother you," he said, his voice strained and hoarse. "My car slid off the road, and I walked as far as I could. Is there any chance, could I come in?" Sarah glanced back at Mia, who was now clutching Mr. Thompson's arm, her eyes wide with wonder. Then she looked at Lisa, who seemed to mirror Sarah's apprehension and compassion. "Of course," Sarah replied, quickly stepping aside to welcome the man in. "Come in before the cold gets the better of you." As he stepped into the warmth, the man immediately began to shake, each tremor echoing the lingering chill he brought with him. He looked around, assessing the room, taking in the fire, the cozy decorations, and, most importantly, the eyes staring back at him. "Thank you," he replied, a hint of gratitude softening his rough features. "I'm Jake. You don't know how much this means to me." "We were just talking about helping others," Lisa said with a gentle smile, clearly recovering from her own ordeal. "It seems tonight is full of surprises." "A good surprise," Mia chimed in, her youthful enthusiasm lowering the tension. She moved closer, unabashedly eyeing the fresh guest as if they were suddenly part of an exciting adventure. Jake relaxed a little, plopping down onto a chair across from the fire. As warmth seeped back into him, he exhaled deeply. "This storm hit fast. I thought I could outrun it, but it was too long before I was in real trouble." His voice trembled, and they could sense the weight of fear still cushioning his words. People are often caught off guard. I know what that feels like, Sarah said softly, her heart swelling with a mixture of pity and solidarity. Exactly. It gets pretty lonely out there, Jake admitted, staring blankly into the flickering flames. I was just hoping for some sort of shelter, someone to help me. Isn't it amazing how quickly things can turn? Lisa added, her eyes brightening. One moment everything feels normal, and the next, life throws everything out the window. Just like the storm. The group shared a moment of contemplation, feeling the weight of shared experiences. They were all seeking shelter not just from the storm outside, but from the storms that churned within. Maybe we could do something even bigger together, Sarah said, her voice firm with urgency. If we can band together tonight, we can help others who find themselves lost or alone when things get tough. We could create a real support network for folks in our community. Mia clapped her hands in excitement, her face beaming with inspiration. I love that idea. I want to help too. Jake looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. That's incredible. I never thought my bad luck would lead to something positive. Just then, a soft, bright light illuminated the room, accompanied by a crack of thunder that echoed through the walls. Uh-oh, looks like the storm is worsening, Mr. Thompson remarked, glancing toward the window. As they all exchanged worried glances, a sudden realization struck Sarah. Could their small act of kindness tonight ripple outward, sparking more community spirit during these tumultuous times? Jake's voice barely pierced the tense air. We should stick together. The night isn't over, and who knows what else might come knocking. Just then, another ominous knock echoed through the room, louder than before. What in the world? Sarah gasped, her heart pounding once again. The storm was far from done, and it seemed like they weren't the only ones looking for refuge. The air thickened with anticipation as Sarah approached the door again, her mind racing with possibilities. What if it was someone else needing help? Her heart beat relentlessly, each knock resonating like a drumroll, heralding something significant. Should we just ignore it? Lisa whispered, her brows knitted in worry. No. If there is someone out there, Sarah replied, glancing at Mia, who stood transfixed, her innocent eyes shimmering with concern. Taking a deep breath, Sarah pulled the door wide open, revealing not just another rugged figure, but a woman this time. She was disheveled and shivering, her cheeks flushed from the cold. A small child clung to her leg, peeking out with wide, frightened eyes. We were lost, the woman stammered, her voice shaky. I thought we could find help, but then our car got stuck. Please, can we come in? Absolutely, Sarah said immediately, stepping aside with renewed urgency. Come in, quick. Jake rushed to help the newcomers, moving aside to allow them entry. The woman, while grateful, appeared overwhelmed, her gaze darting to each person in the room before settling on the fire. The child, perhaps no more than 5, clutched a tattered bear, its gaze just as wide and timid. Thank you so much, the woman murmured, closing the door behind them. I'm Elena, and this is my son, Timmy. The storm came out of nowhere. Warm yourself by the fire, Mr. Thompson guided, offering a chair. You're safe now. As they settled in, the atmosphere shifted from one of tension to warmth. Sarah felt her heart swell with compassion as she watched Timmy inch closer to the flames, mesmerized by the crackling fire's dance. Do you have enough blankets? Lisa asked, glancing at the woman with a kind smile. Just a couple, Elena admitted, her eyes now brimming with gratitude. We weren't prepared for this. The group held a collective breath, sensing the unfolding connections. Jake exchanged soft eye contact with Sarah, both realizing that this night had transformed into something profoundly bigger than they had anticipated. They were all rooted in the same struggle, the same need for shelter and solace. If we can, Sarah began slowly, gathering her thoughts. We should all share our stories. Maybe it will help us to understand what brought us together tonight. Elena nodded, a flicker of assurance igniting her features. She began sharing how she and Timmy had set out from a small town for a quick trip, only to find themselves battling the storm. Each word she spoke reflected fear, determination, and a mother's unwavering love for her child. Mia listened intently, her young face serious. "Sounds scary. But I'm glad we're all here together now," she piped up, her innocent perspective cutting through the somber as Elena spoke. Something shifted. The warmth from the fire seemed to ignite not just the room, but the hearts of everyone inside it. "Maybe we can combine our efforts tonight. We all need each other," Jake suggested. "This isn't just about the storm outside. It's about us being together in this moment." Sarah could feel the weight of the night, a mixture of fear and resilience, laughter and tears. They were weaving their lives together, thread by thread, as they shared their fears and hopes. Each story was a flicker in the dark, illuminating the path forward. Then, just as the emotional tide seemed to settle, a heavy thud echoed outside, rattling the walls. Everyone froze, their eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. "What was that?" Timmy whispered, clutching his bear tighter. The night was far from over, and the true test of their bond was just beginning to unfold. What, or who, awaited them outside? The room fell into a tense silence, each person's breath caught in their throat as they turned toward the door. The fire snapped and crackled, breaking the stillness. Timmy's wide eyes darted between his mother and the group, every adult now a protector in his eyes. Elena instinctively shifted closer to Timmy, her arms circling him protectively. "It's probably just the wind," she said, her voice shaky but trying to reassure her son. But deep down, she shared the unspoken worry reflected on everyone's faces. Sarah's heart raced. What could it be? The storm outside had already shown its fierce side, and they had barely braved its onslaught. "Should we look?" she asked, glancing at Jake, who seemed to weigh the options in his mind. "I'll check," he finally conceded, his voice steady, but his expression serious. "Be careful," Sarah called after him as he opened the door, the wind howling fiercely, swirling snowflakes around him like frenzied spirits. The cold pressed in, a stark contrast to the warmth of the fire, biting at his skin. Outside, visibility was negligible, the heavy snowstorm obscuring everything beyond a few feet. Jake called out, "Hello." But all that answered him was the relentless wind, whipping around him in a dance of fury. After a moment of instinctive hesitation, he stepped fully outside, the cold wrapping around him like a shroud that he scanned the darkness, straining his ears for any sound other than the storm. A muffled voice carried through the wind, soft but discernible. "Help please." Jake's heart skipped. "Over here." He called out, running toward the sound. The adrenaline coursed through him as he plunged into the swirling snow, pushing against the icy gusts. Meanwhile, back inside, tension danced in the air. "What do you think it is?" Lisa spoke out, her voice trembling slightly. "Another person?" Sarah suggested. Something prickled at her awareness, another plea for help. They had all felt the weight of each shared story. They couldn't turn their backs now. Timmy squeezed his bear tighter, eyes darting around like he was watching a suspenseful movie. "Do you think he'll come back?" he whispered, his voice a thread of fear mingling with the warmth that still flickered in the room. "I know he will," Elena reassured her son, though she couldn't shake the tightness in her chest. In the swirling storm, Jake found a figure partially collapsed in the snow, a man, shivering, face pale against the backdrop of white. "I'm here!" Jake yelled, rushing forward, his heart pounding. He knelt next to the man, who was struggling to draw a breath. "Let us get you inside." "Thank you," the man managed to gasp, his voice strained and filled with relief. Jake helped him to his feet, steadying him against his shoulder while the biting wind raged around them. As they made their way back to the door, the atmosphere shifted inside. There was a palpable anticipation and unease. Everyone stood on the edge of their seats, their eyes glued to the door. Elena instinctively stepped forward, her maternal instincts kicking in. She could feel the tension in the air. They were all on the brink of something: transformation, revelation, or danger. Jake pushed the door open with his shoulder, the warm glow of the room spilling out into the storm, momentarily illuminating the man beside him. The firelight flickered over the stranger's gaunt face, highlighting the exhaustion etched in his features. "Who is he?" Lisa asked, eyes wide, voice barely above a whisper. "This is Sam," Jake introduced, his voice steady but ringing with urgency. "He needs help." And just like that, the circle of warmth expanded. Would their hearts be big enough to encompass yet another soul in need? The storm outside paled in comparison to the gathering storm of emotions within. As Sam staggered inside, his eyes met those of the gathered group. Shadows mingled with flickers of hope, and a journey of shared struggles was just beginning. What lay ahead for them all, sharing this space, these moments, was beckoning in the unseen depths. What stories would Sam bring to share? The warmth of the room contrasted starkly with the bite of the storm outside, but the sense of security was fragile. As Sam stepped fully inside, the door creaked in protest against the wind, and followed him was an ever-increasing air of uncertainty. Jake moved quickly to help Sam to the nearest chair, urging him to sit. "He's freezing," he said, his brow furrowing as he watched Sam's pale skin. "Someone grab a blanket." Elena was already on it, scurrying to the closet. Her fingers trembled slightly as she grabbed the thickest blanket she could find, the flannel soft against her skin. She draped it around Sam, covering his shoulders before kneeling in front of him. "What happened out there?" she asked gently, her eyes searching his for answers. Sam looked around the room, taking in the faces, the concern reflected in their eyes, but he hesitated. I was lost," he finally whispered, his voice cracking under the weight of his admission. "I didn't think I'd find anyone. Thought I'd freeze." Sarah's heart ached at his vulnerability. "You're safe now," she reassured, stepping closer, eager to bring comfort. "We'll help you. Just take a breath and let us know what you need." The group leaned in, and the silence deepened, filled only by the crackling fire and the relentless wind outside, howling like a wild animal craving warmth. It was as if time stood still, the outside world forgotten, as they focused entirely on this man before them who had stumbled into their lives. Sam coughed, deep and rattling, pulling them back to the present. "I lost my son last winter. The storm caught us," and his voice trailed off, pain flooding his features. They could see from his eyes that the memory was a scar he carried, raw and vivid. Elena's breath caught in her throat. "I'm so sorry," she said softly, unsure what more could ease the grief around them. "That's unimaginable." Timmy, who had been listening quietly, shifted in his seat, clutching his bear to his chest. The little boy looked up at Sam with an innocent gaze, pure and unfiltered. "I don't want to lose my mom," he said. It was a small, clear statement, but it pierced through the heaviness in the room. Tears shimmered in Sam's eyes. Here he was, in the midst of his sadness, yet somehow he found himself connecting to this boy. "You won, he said gently, his voice stronger now. "You hold on to each other. That's what matters." Jake felt a warmth spread through him, a flicker of something strong and right. "We're all here for each other. We'll take care of our own," he affirmed, his voice steady. "We're family, whether we've known each other long or not." With the warmth of the fire casting a glow on their faces, Sam took a deep breath, the tension in his body starting to release. The presence of compassion and community enveloped him like a blanket, just as the fabric around him did. Yet, as the atmosphere shifted to one of hope, a distant yet ominous sound echoed through the walls, a low rumbling, almost like thunder. But there was no storm expected beyond what they had already weathered. "What was that?" Lisa asked suddenly, her voice a whip of concern cutting through the comforting hush. "I don't know," Jake replied, straining to listen. It seemed the night had another surprise in store, lurking just beyond the veil of winter's chill. What awaited them outside, and would it bring further turmoil, or was it another chance at connection? The rumble faded, but the tension in the room hung thick like the snow outside. Sam could feel it prickling at his skin, almost electric. What if something terrible was indeed lurking beyond their fragile haven? It tugged at his gut, reminding him of the loss he still carried. Elena glanced at the door, unsure. Should we check outside? Maybe it was just the wind. No, Jake interjected firmly. Let us stay inside. It's too dangerous out there. He looked at Sam. You're our priority right now. A flicker of gratitude flashed in Sam's eyes. He had felt like a ghost in a storm, wandering without purpose. But here, surrounded by these people, he felt a tether. Thank you, he muttered, though the words felt insufficient. Timmy, still clutching his bear, leaned forward, his innocent brow furrowed in thought. What if it's something nice? Like a puppy? His eyes sparkled at the idea, bringing a lightness that momentarily shattered the tension. Sam couldn't help but smile, a fleeting moment of joy shining through his grief. A puppy would be great right about now. Just as long as it doesn't have to navigate through a snowstorm. The room erupted in soft laughter, breaking the heaviness and creating a semblance of warmth that countered the chill outside, but the laughter faded quickly, replaced by a deeper silence. Lisa felt a strong urge to share. I know it's hard to think this way, she said softly, but sometimes, storms bring unexpected blessings. Like opportunities, or even new friendships. She looked around, the hope that lingered in her heart visible on her face. Look how we all came together tonight. Jake nodded, sensing the unspoken bond that was forming. Sam, we can't take away your pain, but you're not alone now. He gestured for everyone to come closer. Let us each share a story not about loss, but about connection. Something that reminds us why we need each other. Elena started. Last summer, I took Timmy to the park, and he ran off chasing a butterfly. I panicked. But then I noticed he was laughing and smiling. That's what we're here for, isn't it? To find laughter even in the chaos. Even Sam chuckled softly, the image bringing a warmth to his heart he hadn't felt in a long time. Timmy proudly chimed in, and one time, I helped Dad bake cookies. We made a terrible mess, but they tasted so good. As stories flowed, they painted a tapestry of connection threads binding each person together, weaving them stronger against the storm outside, but just then, another rumble echoed ominously. This time, it felt closer, resonating through the very walls, shaking the warmth of their moment. What was that? Sarah's voice quivered with a new edge of fear. The shelter they had built together suddenly seemed far less stable. Sam felt a cold prickling against the back of his neck, the memories of loss whispered in his mind again. He had fought through a storm before, but could he face whatever this new threat was? Jake took a deep breath, his determination firming as he stood. Whatever it is, we can face it together, he said, rallying them. But the question remained, would their newfound bond be enough to shield them from what lurked in the shadows? As Sam looked into the faces surrounding him full of hope, fear, and undeniable resolve, he felt a flutter of courage swell in his chest. Would it be enough? What came next would test them all. Outside, the storm continued, hiding secrets beneath its whiteness. What horrors or blessings awaited them in the flickering darkness? The air felt thick with uncertainty. Sam shifted his weight, glancing around at the anxious faces that surrounded him. Fear sat like a weight in the pit of his stomach, but he could see determination brewing beneath the surface. Guys, what if it's a wild animal? Sarah whispered, her wide eyes darting toward the door. You know, bears are out there when it gets cold. Or wolves, Timmy added, clinging tighter to his bear as if it might provide some comfort. Enough with the scary stories. Elena interjected gently, trying to lighten the mood once more. Remember the cookies? We need to stay positive. But the laughter from earlier felt distant now. A dark cloud hovered over them, pulsing with every rumble outside. Jake leaned against the wall, arms crossed, projecting as much confidence as he could muster. Look, everyone. Whatever it is out there, we'll face it together as a team. Lisa's eyes shone with unshed tears. It's like we've created our own little family, right here in the middle of a storm. Sam felt a warmth bloom in his chest at her words. A family. It was something he yearned for, something he had lost. He hadn't expected to feel connected again, especially tonight. It struck him that perhaps life's storms did indeed bring unexpected gifts. Just then, another loud crack echoed from outside, a sound that reverberated through the very bones of the house. The walls shook slightly. Everyone froze, collective breaths caught in their throats. Sam closed his eyes, panic rising. What if this wasn't just nature's wrath? What if it was something they couldn't stop? Stay together. Jake called, a steady voice amid the rising tension. No matter what happens, we'll get through it. Remember the stories we shared. He nodded at Sam, a silent reassurance that they'd fight the darkness together. Then, as if drawn by their resolve, a small figure emerged from the shadows of the stormy night, just a silhouette at first, framed by the blinding white of the snow. Is that? Elena whispered, her forehead furrowing in confusion. As the figure drew closer, the group collectively squinted through the gloom. It was a girl, perhaps 12 or 13, bundled in layers but clearly struggling against the icy wind. Sam's heart raced. Who was she? Hey! Jake shouted, stepping toward the door, his better judgment momentarily melted by the sight of someone in distress. Are you okay? Come inside. The girl stumbled slightly but then pressed forward, determination etched across her face. I was looking for help. She called, her voice almost lost in the wailing wind. There's someone hurt out there. Shock jolted through Sam. Hurt? What do you mean? Before she could answer, another loud rumble echoed through the house, this one, so close, that the very ground seemed to tremble beneath their feet. The girl's eyes widened in fear, and Jake took a few quick steps outside into the snow, beckoning her to follow. Come on. We need to get you inside. Realization washed over Sam like a cold wave. This night was far from over. Adrenaline surged as he joined Jake at the door. If someone was hurt out there, they needed to act fast. Wait. Lisa called, her voice trembling. What if it's a trap? We don't know, but Sam's heart beat wildly. We can't just leave them. He insisted. The urgency rushed through the room, and in that moment, they all stared outside at the darkening storm, uncertain yet roused to action. Would they be brave enough to face the unknown? As they stepped into the chilling air, Sam felt the steely grip of fear and hope intertwining. They were about to uncover the true depth of the storm's secrets. What awaited them in the oncoming tempest? Stepping out into the swirling chaos, Sarah felt her pulse quicken. The wind lashed against her face like 1,000 icy needles, but she pushed forward, feeling the weight of responsibility pull her along. Jake had gone ahead, his silhouette barely discernible through the relentless snow. They couldn't leave anyone behind. Stay close. She called to her daughter and the others, her voice shaking but clear. Mia nodded, her youthful bravery shining in her eyes, along with Timmy's innocent determination. The girl stood still, shivering but resolute. I left my brother. He felt her words stumbled out between breaths. He's stuck in the snow. Sinking dread spread through the group. Sam stepped forward, ready to take charge. Where is he? He shouted over the wind. Let us. We can get him. The girl pointed into the darkness. Back that way. He was trying to find help. As if to emphasize their urgency, the very ground shook again, rumbling ominously deep below. Let us hurry. Jake barked, breaking into a sprint. Sarah followed closely, her heart pounding furiously as she channeled every ounce of energy into her legs. They'd take this risk together, they had to. Under the flares of cold light and penetrating wind, Sarah led the way, her instincts guiding her. Each breath became a mantra, they had people to save, lives to protect. There was no room for fear. Timmy clasped his bear tightly, mirroring Mia's clenched fist as they charged through the snow, their laughter fading into the howls of the storm. "We can do this!" Mia shouted, echoing Jake's earlier words, fear but also faith shining through her voice. Finally, they reached a spot just beyond the trees where the shapeless white blended into shadows. Sam spotted a dim shape lying half-buried against a snow mound, limbs flailing weakly. "There!" He pointed, his voice fierce and unyielding. Jake rushed forward. The wind screamed around them as the little girl yelled her brother's name, a sound laced with desperate hope. "Liam!" With determination burning fiercely in his heart, Jake pushed aside the drifts, exposing the boy's terrified, wide-eyed face. The snow clung to him, and for a moment, everything else faded, only this fragile boy mattered. "Hold on," Jake said, powerful yet tender, his hands gripping a still, cold shoulder. "You're going to be okay." As they hoisted Liam out, he shivered and gasped, but his gaze quickly shifted to the gathering group. "Where are we?" he croaked, confusion marking his features. "We're here to help," Lisa assured him, her voice steady. "You're safe now." The storm began to let up, as if responding to the growing warmth of their unity. They bundled the boy in blankets, hearts swelling with relief, joy coursing through the air like an anthem of triumph, but just as laughter began to break through, an unexpected twist rippled through. Sam faced them, his eyes now filled with a solemn realization. "We came together tonight, we saved lives. We can't let this kindness end here." The group fell silent, the enormity of the moment settling in. Every face was now painted with resolve, each heart whispering the same unyielding sentiment. "Yes, we can create a community network," Sarah said, stepping forward. "We'll honor my mother's legacy of kindness. We'll make sure no one feels alone, not just in storms like this but any storm life throws." The words flowed from her, wrapping around the group like a blanket against the relentless wind. Murmurs of agreement filled the space, the bonds created in the night solidifying into something powerful. "Let us start right now," Jake added. "Let us plan a way to connect our community. Share resources. Sponsor those who need help. This is just the beginning." His conviction radiated outward, igniting the spark of change in everyone's heart. Timmy, holding his bear tightly, chirped, "Can we help animals too? My bear would like that." The laughter erupted again, harmonizing beautifully with the softening storm outside. More than just survival had taken place, they had found hope in each other, a family born from the depths of winter's fury. As they walked back toward the warmth of the farmhouse, laughter and shared plans peppering the air, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that somehow her mother was there with them, beaming with pride. "Just look at what can happen in the storm," she thought, a warm smile spreading across her face. In that moment, they understood that storms could bring transformation, but it began with connection, compassion, and unwavering courage. They would keep shining light into the dark, one small act of kindness at a time. As they reached the door, ready to embrace the warmth inside, Sarah looked at each of them. "Let us promise to remember this night and carry it forward together." With hearts brimming with hope and a newfound understanding of the power they held collectively, they stepped inside, leaving the storm behind and taking the first steps toward a brighter future. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories, leave a like now to feed the algorithm, comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of this.